In our next topic now, or the second part of our workshop, we talked about hyperlinks. Hyperlinks also help us for connection purposes, as we have seen with the action buttons. However, with hyperlinks, they work quite differently with the action buttons. So let's have a look at these hyperlinks. So I can continue with this same slide. So when you're working with hyperlinks, you can decide to hyperlink or to connect a slide to a web page, or connect that slide, for instance this one, to another slide within your presentation. You can also decide to hyperlink this slide to a different presentation, or to a slide in a different presentation. For instance, if you have another PowerPoint slide or any other file, you can get that file connected. If you have another PowerPoint file and you wish to connect this slide to that very particular slide in another PowerPoint file, it is also possible. You can also connect a slide to an email address, but all these ones will depend on what you want this link for. So in today's workshop, we are going to look at how we can have a slide like this one connected to another slide in a different presentation. We shall also look at how we can have a hyperlink, or how we can hyperlink slides within the same presentation. Like this very presentation we are working with, we shall see if I'm on this slide, how can I get it connected to another slide within my presentation. Then we shall look at how we can hyperlink this slide, that whenever we click on a particular text or object, we are connected to a given web address. So we are going to see that today. Now, before we can look at all those different things or tasks that we are going to perform, hyperlinking is done with the help of the text. For instance, the text is that you have within your slide, or any other object. So when we talk of object, an object can be a picture that you have in your slide. So you can work with the picture or the text to help you go ahead and hyperlink the slide with another slide, or to another particular point within your computer or outside your computer. That is, if you're working with the web pages or email addresses. So you cannot hyperlink without the help of the text or the objects, like the pictures that you have within your presentation file. So let's begin by looking at how can I hyperlink a slide to a different slide in a different presentation. Hyperlinking a slide, this is our slide, so we want to get an object within this very slide, that whenever we click on that very object, we are taken to another slide within a different presentation. So to do that, we shall select any object. Let's start by working with text. So I'll work with this text basic. So after selecting the text, we shall now go to Insert tab. From the Insert tab, we shall move our pointer to this links group, and under the links group we have this option for hyperlink. When you point at it, it is telling you that create a link in your document for quick access to web pages and files. Hyperlinks can also take you to places in your document. So this is our document we are working with, but we want to work with a different file and we access the slide in that very file. So we go to hyperlink. Now when you go to hyperlink, you click on it, you will have this insert hyperlink dialog box, as we can see from our screen. So from our screen we have this option of link to. We said that we want to get this slide here hyperlinked to another slide in a different presentation. So since we want from a different presentation, you are going to come to this link to and say existing file. So existing file means that you already have a file that is stored on your computer and you want to work with that file to get your hyperlink created. So that's why we shall work with existing file or web page. So you come and click on it. By default it will be clicked on. However, if you find it like this, it means that you have to come and click on that very option, and then you will have access to those files. But before you have access to those files, there is this option where we see look in. So look in helps you to have access to that file. Is the file you're looking for stored in the current folder? Is the file you're looking for in the browsed pages? Is the file you're looking for in recent files? So that is the look in area. Or else you can say that I want now to look for that file in the current folder. Now for me, the file I would like to work with is already displayed here among these four. However, if yours is not displayed there, how do you access that file? Look in, mine is in Word Workshop. However, you can work with this arrow and specify where that file is. If the file is somewhere on desktop, you will go to desktop. If it is on computer, you will go and check in your local disk. If it is on the local disk D, you go to local disk D. If you stored them in a different folder, you will just select that particular folder. There are other options, as we can see from there. So it is now you to make the selection. Like for me, it is on Word Workshop. I click on it and you will have access to that file. So let's assume we want to work with this file named Uses and Functions of Computers. So you will come and click on it. So when you click on it, below here you see address. Address is telling us that uses and functions of computers. We are not going to click on OK button. Reason is, when we click on the OK button, we are not inserting a slide. our task is to insert a slide within this very file. So when you click on OK, instead what will happen is you will insert the whole file. So whenever you click on the hyperlink which we are creating on this word basic, you will open only the file but not the slide that you want. So how do I access the slide that we want? After selecting, we have this option on the right part of this dialog box, and it is known as bookmark. So you click on bookmark so that you are in position to access the slides within this file named uses and functions of computers. So you can see when you click on bookmark, you have another dialog box displayed. So this one is telling us it is the select place in document dialog box. And within this dialog box, here are the slide titles. We have slide 1. In slide 2 we are seeing unit 3 and so on, which is talking of uses and functions of computer. So you can see. So let's assume you want to work with uses of computers in security. You will just go and click on that very option where we see uses of computers in security. So this implies that whenever you go and click on this text named basic, you will be in a position to access this slide which is having content about uses of computers in security, and of which this slide is found in a slide in a file or presentation file known as uses and functions of computers. So this is the file, and within this file we want to access this very slide. Then after, you click on OK. Now when you click on OK, nothing has happened. But in this address, we see that we are working with this very file, and then we are majorly in the slide for uses of computers in security, and they are showing us it is slide 11. Then we say it's okay. That is the slide we want our slide to get hyperlinked to. Click on OK. When we click on OK, we can see on our text that we had selected. The text is now blue in color, and most importantly with a line drawn beneath. This is a sign that you have got a hyperlink on that very text. So that is how you get this slide hyperlinked to another slide in a different presentation. However, let's find out whether we are right. That whether when we click on this very text, we shall be in a position to access the other slide which is in a different presentation file. So we go to slideshow view, we click. Then when we click, we shall go to that word basics. When you just point at it, it will show you that live preview as we can see. So we click. So when we click, we can see that we are now taken to that very slide in the other different presentation file. And remember, we had selected that slide with uses of computers in security. So that's how you can hyperlink a slide that you're working with to a different slide in a different presentation file. So that is the first way to hyperlink. Let's look at another option. We can decide to hyperlink a slide to another slide within our same presentation that we are working with. So let us see, work with this very second slide, and we see how we can hyperlink this slide to another slide within our very presentation. Let's hyperlink now this very slide to the last slide within this very presentation file we are working with. So to do that, we shall select a text. So we can work with this text for Unit 2. It can just be a single text, or it can be a line of text. For instance, you can say, I want to work with this line of text. You select it. After selecting, you go to, since we're already having the Insert tab menu displayed, we shall now go and click on Hyperlink. When we click on Hyperlink, we shall have the Insert Hyperlink dialog box displayed, as we can see. Our task now is to get this slide hyperlinked to the last slide, which is slide 6, within this very presentation file. So what we are going to do now is to work with this option for place in this document. In this document, this is the document we are working with. The file that you have opened and you're working with is the document in this case. So we click on place in this document. You select it. So after selecting, you'll have this area here. Select a place in this document, in this very presentation file that you are working with. So we have here options now. We want to have it hyperlinked to the last slide, which is slide 6. So you will just come and click on that very slide 6. After clicking, you will have a slide preview on the right part of this dialog box. So the importance of this slide preview is to ensure that you insert the right slide or hyperlink the right slide that you want. So since we want to work with this slide 6 and we have already selected it, we click on the OK button. When we click on the OK button, just as we saw when we are hyperlinking a slide to a different slide in another presentation, we can also see that now our selected text has changed the color and there is also a line drawn beneath, an implication that there is now a hyperlink created on this text. Let's see what will happen when we go to the slideshow and we click on this very text. So we go to slideshow, and then when we move to that very text, you can see that our pointer also changes. So we just click. So when we click, we can see that we are now taken to the last slide that we have, or slide 6, in the same presentation file we are working with. So To leave this screen, you just press on the escape key. And to prove that we are right, we can see that we are on slide 6, which is selected. However, you can decide and say, I want to work with or to take or to connect this slide to the last slide, like that, and so on. So let's briefly look at that option. We work with this text computer and then hyperlink. We still want to work with this very optional place in this document. You see, we have option to say, I want this slide 6 to get hyperlinked to the first slide, to the last slide, to the next slide, to the previous slide. So our previous slide is this one. So when you select previous slide, you can even see the content from the slide preview. And if you look at this very slide, you can see it is the same information. If you say to the first slide, you click, it shows you the first slide content from the slide preview. So if you want just to work with this option, then you work with that. If you want to be specific with the slide, then you'll come and work with this option for slide titles. Then you select that particular slide and you'll get that slide hyperlinked. If you want first slide, select and say OK. When you go to the slideshow, you'll be in position to be hyperlinked to the first slide whenever you click on that text where you have created the hyperlink. Then lastly, we have that option of creating a hyperlink that can take you to a web address. So with that option, it means that you have to first of all ensure that you know the web address where you want the slide to get connected, and also you also select that text that whenever you click on it, you are taken to that very web address. So, and most importantly is that you have to ensure that your computer is connected to the internet, so that whenever you click on that very text, you are taken to the internet or to that very web address. Let's work with the first slide. So with the first slide, I'm going to work with this text. Select it. After selecting, we shall go again to the hyperlink option. Click on it. When you click, you still have the same dialog box known as the insert hyperlink dialog box. There is something that I was forgetting to explain or to show people, is that here in the text to display, they show you the selected text that you're working with to create the hyperlink. So it is this one. Then now to have our hyperlink created and you are taken to the web page, we shall click on this option of existing file or web page. So this option helps you, one, to access the file that you already have in your computer. Secondly, it also helps you to create a hyperlink that can take you to the web page. So that's why we work with this same option. Then from here, where we see the address, you are now going to put the address to the web page you want to get your slide hyperlinked to. it is now important to put the right address. So since I've ever used, you can see that I've just put HTTPS and the address has already gotten displayed. So you put the right address, HTTPS, then www.youtube.com/c/Ogwal-Isaac. So this is the web address we want this slide to get hyperlinked to. So if you're sure it is the right one, then click on OK button. So when you click on the OK button, you'll have this text that you selected changing color and also having that blue underline, an implication that you have got a hyperlink created. Let's test out and we see whether it is possible that whenever we click on this text, we are taken to the other web address that we have seen. So to do that, we shall still open our presentation or our slide in the slideshow view. Click. Then we shall go to that very text. When you point at that text, it will show you the web address that you have inserted. So from this point, it is important to first see whether it is the right address. If it is not the right one, you can still go back and change. So let's click on it and see whether we shall be taken to that page. So I've clicked and I hope we are now getting connected, as we can see from the screen. So it will load and there we are taken to that web address that we specified. So that is how you can get your slide hyperlinked to a web page that you have specified in the other address. And that brings us to the last part that we had prepared for this workshop. So I'll just close this and then we go back to our slide. So that's it for today's workshop. Members, you can unmute your microphones and then you give us your feedbacks and more discussion. Thank you.